7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
2024, the last full year of my teens. The year I chased every crazy idea, turned challenges into milestones, and lived every moment like it mattered. The year pain became wisdom, fear became bravery, and faith became my anchor. The year I found creativity in places I never thought to look. I pushed past limits I didn't know I had, and I said yes to risks that terrified me. 2024 was, by far, the most colossal and defining year of my life. I began my filmmaking and photography journey. I built a film company. I graduated high school. I turned 19. I traveled the world. I shaved all my hair. I rediscovered myself, my style, my voice, and my art. I created film after film, photograph after photograph, more art than I've ever made in my life. 2024 was a year of transformation, a season of love, growth, and renewal. Every change felt like a step forward, every challenge an opportunity to grow, and every moment wove together into something greater. Experiences that inspired me, shaped me, and ultimately changed me forever. I want to tell you all about it. This is why 2024 was the greatest year of my life. At the end of 2023, I hit the reset button on my life. I let go of what wasn't working, and I made space for something new. It wasn't about running away from the past, but stepping into a brighter, healthier future. I was ready for a fresh start in every way, one that 2024 wasted no time in delivering. With the new year came an itch I couldn't ignore, a hunger for something creatively different. I've been creating art for as long as I can remember, dabbling in everything I could get my hands on. But I never found that one thing. The art form that would grab me by the collar and refuse to let go. And then... And just like that, Luminara Pictures was born. There was no grand plan, no expectations, just two guys, a shared passion, and a wild idea. And when I picked up that camera for the first time, something clicked. Literally. Oh, come on! God! At first, I was terrible. Blurry shots, shaky footage, bad lighting. If there was an award for making a camera cry, I would have won it. But I couldn't stop. With every gig and experiment, I got a little better. And better. And better. Until I was hooked. Like, really hooked. The kind of hook where you think, yeah, I can make a film out of me taking a dump. Absolutely, undeniably hooked. My entire life became filmmaking and photography. Tutorials and short films filled my YouTube feed. My days were consumed with ideas, shots, and stories, and my nights disappeared into editing timelines, color grading sessions, and, admittedly, probably too much Taco Bell. It was chaos. The best kind of chaos. The kind where you're up until 3 a.m. convincing yourself that coffee definitely counts as a food group and forgetting to eat because you're almost there. It was the kind of chaos where every mistake was just another step towards the next big thing. And then, before I knew it, May had arrived. The chaos of creation surged on, but life had other plans. A chapter was ending. Graduation.
I love you. I love you too.
Epic.
Dad, guess what? I made my breakfast by myself. Yeah.
In many ways, this past year, more than ever, I felt like I was witnessing my childhood finally ending. Graduation wasn't just a milestone, it was a turning point. It marked the close of one chapter and the uncertain start of another. A moment when the future loomed both exciting and intimidating. Over the past 365 days, I felt the quiet weight of more lasts than I ever expected. Those fleeting moments that signaled the end of a season. The final days as a student, the last carefree afternoons spent without worrying about what came next, and the subtle yet certain feeling of letting go. Close friendships, once rooted in consistency, began to shift. No longer weekend hangouts, but scattered messages and brief reunions. It wasn't loss so much as transition, but it felt significant. As the months passed, I realized further that 2024 would be my last full year as a teenager. Turning 19 wasn't just a number, but a line drawn in the sand. It reminded me that time doesn't wait for anybody, and that my 20s were rushing in faster than I was ready for. Most of all, this year, I began seeing what it truly meant to enter adulthood. These past years have been a storm. Moments of immense beauty and moments of formulative pain and perseverance. They were years that stripped me down and built me back up, piece by piece, with lessons that left their mark. Lessons about resilience, about grace, about growth. And now, those lessons aren't just theories to reflect on. They have to be lived. It's not just about preparing anymore, it's about becoming. The choices I've made and the actions I've taken are now defining me. The training wheels are off. I'm stepping fully into the weight of what it means to be a man. It's a bittersweet mix of excitement and hope for what lies ahead, paired with the ache of seeing how much you've left behind. The parts of yourself you outgrow, the pieces of others you carry with you, the chapters that close so others can begin. Growth and change demand these sacrifices. And those sacrifices were painful. But this wasn't the end. This was a threshold. And I made the choice to embrace the change and to live fully. For the first time, I experienced true freedom. I embraced the change around me, and I made the most of it. I said yes to just about everything. In some ways, I made it a challenge to see just how much I could do in 2024. Last-minute road trips, as many concerts as possible, traveling wherever I could, and spending as much time with my friends as I could. I lived in every moment, because you never know if it might be your last. Things are always changing, and you only live once. So I took those chances. I took scary risks. I saw the world in ways I'd never seen it before. I even got to speak with some of my lifelong heroes. And through all of that, I found a confidence and bravery in myself that I'd never known. A bravery that led me to take my first ever backpacking trip with my two closest friends in Colorado, living out of just a 4Runner and a barely 3-person tent. It was incredibly conditioning though. It kind of made me into a man in some ways, which drove me to travel to New York, London, and Paris, all in the last 3 months of the year. This bravery even led me to let go of something that had entrapped my self-confidence for years. My hair, which I shaved. Now, a lot of it has grown back since, but that seemingly small and, in the grand scheme of things, unimportant action single-handedly shifted my self-confidence and the way I worry about how people view me and my looks. And I filmed, captured, and made art out of as much as I could this year. I built a creative routine by taking my camera literally everywhere imaginable, capturing these moments in their purest form. Yet, despite all of this, all the concerts, the grand elaborate trips, the most beautiful and breathtaking of views, all the art I both consumed and created, the huge milestones, all the insane things I managed to cram into a single year, there is a single aspect that overshadows it all. The thing that carries more importance than any event, any milestone, or bucket list item. The thing that I believe is the greatest renewal and change I've ever experienced in my life. The people. For as long as I can remember, I have valued relationship and community more than anything else. The people I love, they ground me. They bring me joy. and they inspire me. Coming into 2024, I was stepping out of a season of uncertainty. The previous year was marked by shifts in relationships, some painful, some necessary, but 2024 was different. It was a year where God's hand was so clearly evident in the people he placed around me. Old friends, family, mentors, and the new connections I made this year. All of them played a role in some of the most renewal and growth I've ever experienced. It was the rebuilding of something stronger and truer. These people didn't just support me, they genuinely changed me. They shaped me in ways I never expected, and quite frankly, they changed the course of my life this past year. These are the people who have loved me at my lowest, encouraged me, and fought for me in ways nobody ever has before. They've accepted me, flaws and all, but also held me accountable when I needed it most. They've inspired me to grow, not just as a person, not just as a friend or a man, but as a follower of Christ. Their wisdom, their maturity, and their faith have left a profound and lasting impact on my life. Those simpler, quieter moments we share together are where I have felt the deepest love and joy. The laughter, the unfiltered late-night conversations, the spontaneous big group hangouts, the long drives, these moments hold more value to me than any milestone, any trip, any event, or any piece of art I could ever create. I think I'll always cherish 2024 most for these moments. It was a big year for all of us, really. 2024 was a year of growth. Many of us graduated, moved on to new chapters of our lives, and embraced a lot of change. It was a year of transition, of stepping into something new. Whether those changes came like a sudden shift or unfolded gradually over time, they set the foundation for even greater things ahead. So, rather than focusing on how these people affected me, I wanted to share their stories, their growth, their reflections, and the lessons they carried from this past year. So, I asked them two questions. The first was what their favorite memory from 2024 was. That's what you're seeing now. Their faces lighting up as they shared and reflected on those moments. I wanted to capture that joy, the light in their face as they talked about something that they love. The second question was a little more introspective. I asked them to share the biggest lesson that they took from 2024. This is what they told me.
Man, I went through pretty crappy stuff this past year. It's been a long year. A lot of change this year.
Yeah,
It's been a full year.
There's a lot that we did this year.
I guess my current lesson right now is just learning how to process things and learning how to tackle really deep problems that are just painful.
I think that I've learned better how to not be in a constant state of despair. Because even at the very beginning of this year, that's exactly like what it was, and I just like, just have to wait it out.
Like, make sure that the thing you're doing is the actual solution to your problem and not just some random thing that you think is going to change your life, but actually won't.
That God, we seek his gifts all the time, but we don't seek God very often. And the way that he reveals himself to us in the midst of adversity and suffering is really powerful, and it points us to the cross.
I think the most important thing I've learned this year is that there's nuance to absolutely everything you could imagine. I was always the type of person to have like immediate conclusions about a story I heard or a person I met or like an environment I was in. I just immediately like, oh, it's this, oh, it's that, oh, that's the reason. And there's like no space for nuance at all that I was making. And I've learned this year that like every single thing has nuance.
Really, the biggest takeaway is that like, one, my identity is in Christ entirely. My purpose is also Christ. And also Christ is in other people, even if they're not believers or something, and even if what I think they're doing is like super stupid, that like I can't correct their behavior, but I can affect their heart.
Some people, even though they're consistently jerks or consistently immature, are still your friends, are still worthy of being talked to, are still worthy of being treated like they're made in the image of God, just kind of being more patient. I've always been very, very quick to judge.
Ultimately, the biggest thing that I've learned is like that I need to pray and read the Bible, and that it all goes back to the basics. And then being surrounded with people that love God and that are willing and that really want to talk about Him, just a really good community.
Maybe to live in the moment a little bit more. I think that's kind of a takeaway from graduating and then going off to school, because now, like, I'll never get to be in the same position. Like, all these people are changing anyway. Like, even if we still had another trip or another, like, hangout together, these aren't the same people, and it'll be fun. But just to enjoy the exact stage of life that I'm in the moment that I'm in it.
Everyone's gonna struggle with little things, and all the little things that I've spent hours and hours and hours worrying about don't really matter. Like, I put way too much like effort and stuff into thinking about them, and it's just not that big of a deal.
It's just not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Nothing's really a big deal unless you make it a big deal. And of course, there are things that should be a big deal, like keeping up relationships, but even that, if you have the right people, they have a lot of grace with the mistakes you make. If you have a tough week, then just say it and they'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely holding on loosely. I think God has faced me with maybe what I have been making an idol other than Him.
It reminds us that we're holding on too tight to all of this. It makes you fear death less when you realize it's going to be actually better to be with Jesus. So
this is something I say often, but I think I've learned it more and more and more over this year, is that time is the currency of respect. What I mean by that is, if you want to earn someone's trust, if you want to earn someone's respect, and just grow with them in a relationship, you have to provide them your time. And I see that not only in a church aspect, but also a marriage aspect and just a friendship aspect. If you want any of those relationships to grow and be successful, however you define that, the thing that must be consistent is your time. You must consistently give that away to them.
And so I think to just enjoy the moment that I'm living in right now, I think that's maybe a big takeaway.
The more like busy you make yourself, the less you're gonna enjoy life, because you're just focused on getting through things and marking things off of your to-do list. And if you just sacrifice your time and leave a bit of time open for God to do stuff, a lot of things can happen, and you really appreciate time for what it is.
Time is the currency of respect.
Live in the moment a little bit.
Sacrificing your time.
Provide them your time.
Holding on loosely.
Too tight.
It's just not a big deal.
Appreciate time.
My identity is in Christ entirely.
Just kind of being more patient.
Enjoy the moment that I'm living in.
I would live in that moment.
Being more present in that moment. Time. The thing that must be consistent is your time.
Wow, what a year it has been. We all learned, we grew, and we changed a lot. I am certainly not by any means the same man I was a year ago. But the real transformation for me isn't in all these crazy things that I managed to fit in 1 year. It was most of all in learning to trust God. And God wasn't just working in my circumstances, He was working in me. Each person you've heard from in this film has played a vital role in that journey. So, to you, you know who you are. Thank you. And that's the interesting thing about time. It reveals what truly matters. I have no idea what the road ahead holds, but I know who holds the road ahead. So, here's to 2024, the year that changed everything. Here's to living without fear, without regrets, and embracing change and trusting God. This is just the beginning, and I cannot wait to see what comes next. That is why 2024 was the greatest year of my life.